All right. So, by the way, I'm Mr. Moody. I'm the athletic director here at Yorktown Middle School. I'm glad that you all could be here tonight. I know it's a little late. We had planned on doing this after a practice, but when we have gas leaks going on at the school, practice is a little dangerous. So we just, out of abundance of caution, we just canceled everything tonight. Didn't want anybody going in there with the gas leak going on. So it looks like everything's good to go now. We'll be back at school tomorrow. So um, should be good there. So um, I want to one more time remind everybody that I'm recording this right now. It will be on YouTube. So if you don't want to be on there, make sure you mute your mic, make sure you turn your camera off, and you will not be included in the video. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is our concussion protocol. This is a little new this year. Last year we used to do the impact testing. Years before that also. We did impact testing, but what we found was that the doctors were not using our tests when we would have those results for them. The kids would go to the doctor, get checked out, and they just ignored the tests that we used. So we decided that it's not really worthwhile to do those tests anymore because it's not being used. So what we do now is if any student shows concussion-like symptoms, if they hit their head during a game, things like that, they'll be removed from the contest or the practice. And we will go through Brooke Wagner, our corporation nurse, for anybody that has those issues. So it'll be reported to her. She will work in conjunction with, obviously, you as the parents and any medical doctors that you go through. And she will be the one that clears those athletes to me. So I'm not really even involved in that process other than to say, hey, Winstone so-and-so is ready to go. So that's kind of how we handle it now. It's honestly a little better for me. I am not a medical professional, so I don't, I know about concussions, but I don't feel comfortable diagnosing anything like that or clearing anybody. So it's just it's a really good transition we're making for concussions, and I think it's going to work. It has worked out really well. It worked out really well for the fall. We had no issues, and it's just a better way to do things. So, as well as concussion, she basically clears all of that. She does the COVID stuff and just any other injuries as well. You'll go through her with any clearance. She will clear the athletes, let me know, and they'll be good to go. So that's what we'll be doing with any and all injuries this year. As far as grades go, at Yorktown, we expect our athletes to be students first. I personally do the grade checks on all athletes at the quarter and at the midterm. We did those before, and everybody's solid. So if an athlete has 2 Fs, they are immediately ineligible for athletics. This means that they're not allowed to participate in any contests and may not travel with the team. But we do let them practice. I will then recheck the grades in 2 weeks to determine if the athletes can regain eligibility. So we do want them to stay with the team because we feel like practicing and having that incentive to get back on the team gives them the motivation to get their grades back the way they are. If we kick them off the team and they're not around the team, a lot of times kids just kind of fall by the wayside. So we let them stay with the team. We let them practice because it's a positive thing in their lives, obviously. But we don't let them participate in games, obviously, and they cannot travel. So to maintain the integrity of the grade checks, I do not allow kids to immediately fix their grade if they are ineligible at the quarter or the midterm. The goal is for the kids to maintain good grades, not to slip by when the grades are checked. If a student is ineligible, they will be ineligible for 2 weeks and hopefully will be good to go when I recheck in 2 weeks. So if they try to turn in 15 assignments the day after grade checks and they find out they're ineligible, that's great that they turn those in, but they are not eligible once that grade automatically switches. So I recheck in 2 weeks, and it's a hard 2 weeks. I do this, one, because we want the kids to have integrity when it comes to their grades. It's not just getting grades up to play sports. It's getting good grades because it's important. And two, I won't put that on my teachers either. They work really hard. It's very difficult for them to grade a lot of missing assignments like that. And I don't ever want them to feel like they're a reason a kid's not playing a sport. Those are the choices that student made. So that's kind of how we handle that. And yeah. Playing time. When it comes to playing time, I defer to my coaches. So in middle school, we are certainly still in the developmental level, but we are also setting out to win contests. Coaches are in charge of playing time and have my full support. They're the ones that are in practice. Winstone knows his players and he knows who should play when, and I defer to him on all of that. If there are any questions about playing time, we would like for the athletes to advocate for themselves. This is a big thing, especially in middle school. We want the kids to be able to go and talk to authority figures and have those talks. It's just a really good thing for them as they're growing up. And they get to know the reason why they don't have the playing time, because there's always going to be a reason. And all of my coaches have no issue sharing that information with the kids because it's going to make them better. So we want them to advocate. We want the kids to go and talk to Winstone and say, what can I do to get better and get more playing time? And I'm sure all of you know him and know he'll have an answer. So that's kind of how I handle that. But that being said, if there are ever any concerns, we do encourage you to contact the coaches or myself. Like it's not like there's a closed door. We are there to talk. Just the playing time specific one is more, we would like to talk to the players about those things rather than parents first. So conduct. We stress to our athletes that when they put on their uniforms, they are representing Yorktown. They should take pride in that and be exemplary competitors as well as show great sportsmanship. The hope is that our adults can help to model this behavior. So please remember that our kids are always trying their best. The goal of the fans should always be to cheer on all kids who are competing. So in the same vein, please remember that all the officials are community members who are deeply invested in the growth of your children. We do pay them, but it isn't a ridiculous amount. They are officiating because they enjoy it and should be treated with respect. That goes without saying, I'm sure, but it is something I like to mention. Remember that, always being positive. Sometimes we'll have games where you'll see other teams, other schools being negative. We never want to feed into that, and we always want to be, a place that officials like to show up and they enjoy officiating our games and just being, a great part of the community. So now on to COVID changes. So we've had some changes this year due to the circumstances. The first thing that you need to know is that we do have guidelines in place from the DOE that we expect to be followed. Things such as masks and sanitizer rules are there to protect the athletes and coaches, and they must be followed. What we're basically talking about is we're not having kids wear masks while they're playing, but we do expect them to wear them on the bench. We'll have everybody in the stands will be wearing them, and it's just a lot of schools are going this route. You'll see visiting players doing the same. So the mask thing is very important, and we kind of follow that. You'll also notice this year that we sanitize the basketball on timeouts. Our officials are spraying it down with sanitizer, some special sanitizer we have, and rubbing the basketball down to make sure it's as safe as possible. So we're taking a lot of steps, and we're doing a lot of things in the background that you aren't aware of either, whether it be just any of the sanitizer rules that we have. We're grouping kids for contact tracing just to make sure that if there's a possibility the kid does get COVID on the team, it might not knock out the whole team if we are doing a lot of these groupings. If we're doing our bus seating charts and stuff like that, it could be the difference between 3 kids being gone for 2 weeks instead of canceling games for 2 weeks. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're doing a lot of those things, and we just would like for your support, letting your student athlete know that following those things is super important. Can be the difference between us playing an entire season or missing a few weeks to a month, like some teams are already doing. So fan attendance. So at this moment, we are going by the county color code that they've got going on. The new color came out today. Surprisingly, we are in orange. We're very close to the red, but we're in orange. Orange is 250 people at the event, as far as I know at this moment. That could possibly change tomorrow. It seems like it changes daily. But right now we're at 250 people at the event because that's 25% capacity of our gymnasium. And That includes our players, our coaches, our officials, myself, our concession stand, ticket taker. I have to include all those people in that count. So those numbers are going to limit our attendance a bit. That said, sixth grade basketball did not reach 250 people one time last year when it was the only event. So we had a seventh grade basketball game last night, did not come close to 250. I don't anticipate it being an issue. We are doing things like not taking visiting cheerleaders. They won't be coming to our place to keep the numbers down a little bit, but I don't see us getting to a point where we need to do vouchers for sixth grade basketball. We're probably going to do general admission, and we'll be all right, I believe. So that's kind of what we have now. Now, if the color coding changes on that map, we have other things we have to go to. If it goes red, it gets a lot different. So right now we are orange. That's what we're doing. That could change next Wednesday. You just never know. So, like I said, tickets are on a first come, first served basis. We don't hold tickets, but once again, that's probably not going to affect you at all this year. Just know that if you call in beforehand, we're not going to say, okay, we'll hold tickets for Jim. We don't do that. So, and also we will not have all sports passes this year. So that is not happening. Concessions, we do have a concession stand. We're selling candies that are prepackaged, and we're selling drinks. That's all we've got. We don't even have the old concession stand now. We got two folding tables out there with stuff like, especially with construction, it's gotten a little rough. But we do have a concession stand that's available in case, but we won't be having the popcorn. It's kind of weird having games without the popcorn smell, but no more popcorn this year. And then we're not having the nachos with the cheese machine that will give you a heart attack when you leave. So it's a little bit of a difference, but we do have some things for you. And then finally, I'm going to talk about seating a little bit. So at all home contests, we do encourage, and it is highly encouraged by the state to do the social distancing. We do have X's marked on the bleachers. Now, obviously, the social distancing is not really a household issue. It's more other households. So if you're sitting together as a family unit, that's okay. We're fine with that. We just would like for you to spread out as much as possible to keep the spread down. Obviously, because if you're getting sick at home, you're possibly getting your athlete sick. We don't want anybody to get sick in general, but, just being as safe as possible. If we could use those X's, that would be great. Also, masks are required during the events. We haven't really had much of an issue with that. Everybody's been pretty positive, pretty understanding. So that really hasn't been an issue. But I will tell you, masks, I will ask people to put those on if it becomes an issue. I definitely don't want to do that. But it's kind of where it's at. I won't be going and policing people sitting on the X's in the bleachers, though. That's not something that I don't know what family units are. I don't know who you are with in the household. And I mean, frankly, I don't have time to go and do that. I'm not going to police any seating charts, but I do ask you to just kind of adhere to that as best as you can, so we can make sure this season is a success. So that is all that I have right now. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Winstone, and he has a few things to talk to you, and then I'll have some time for some questions.
Hello, I'm Winstone for those who don't know me. I graduated from Muncie South, played football, basketball, ran track there. Played my freshman year of football at St. Francis, and then transferred to Ball State and finished out there, and went from there. Coached football at Muncie South, and then ended up being the last head football coach at Muncie South. I know it's a lot of football why I came to basketball, but I love basketball. Basketball has always been one of my favorite sports. And, I had this sixth grade group back in the fourth grade. And unfortunately, last year my work took me away and out of town. So I'm super excited to get this group back. And it's just been a real joy on the couple weeks that I've spent together with your kids so far. So I'm super excited to get started. Unfortunately, with all the COVID stuff, things are changed, but, we'll make the best of it. And I think we'll get through very well. As far as like my coaching philosophy, I'm really big about, playing hard 100%, 100% of the time. Even if you're doing something wrong, if you're doing it hard, I'm not going to be too mad at you. But at the same time, attention to detail, and you got to be able to play man-to-man defense, because we're going to be pressing almost the entire game. So we got to be in shape. The kids have probably told you that we do a little bit of running when they miss free throws, but that'll come in handy when we go in to close out a game and we're hitting free throws and other teams aren't. But my philosophy on playing time is, you practice well, you play well. I have, just the last 2 weeks, some kids, people, they're progressing different, and everybody is, one thing I can't say that everybody's playing super hard, and it makes it a good place for us coaches, because we love that. We love the intensity that they bring to practice every day, and they just love being there. There is an A and a B team. We kept 16 total, which is a little bit on the high side, but with COVID, we could easily lose a couple kids, and and we don't want to have to cancel anything. We want to, the whole time, we want to try to keep this as, as normal as possible. The A game, it's, you're going to be fighting for minutes in the A game. That's just, we want to build a winning culture. At the same time, that's not going to jeopardize as far as the integrity of our team, as far as, just because this kid's good and he had, terrible practice this week, that doesn't mean he's going to play, So playing time on the A game is, that's a daily grind. That's not the A team can switch week to week, which, I like to play between 7 to 8 kids. 8 kids probably max in the A game. The B game, it's going to be, the time's going to be kind of spread out a little bit more, just because I want to make sure everybody gets involved in the B game. Yes, I still want to win the game, but at the same time, the more they develop in the game, the better they're going to be, and put them in better positions to eventually be in the A game and next year. So with that being said, Mr. Moody really put it in perspective. If your kids have any problem with, maybe they think they should play more, or reasons that, if they want any feedback, they always can come to me. I will always tell them, because, as coaches, we want to see them progress, and we don't want to see them go backwards or get discouraged on it because they feel like they're doing something wrong or they can't correct it. So I'm always an open book, and I'll always talk to them at all times. As far as, let me see, I usually have a 24-hour rule after a game. If they feel like they should, if they approach you again, I would like for them to come to me, but, I understand some kids, some kids are different, and they won't. And if they won't, I would like a few parents would come to me, because I still want to fix it no matter what. I still want to fix the problem, or put him at ease no matter what the situation is. So if he's talking to you and no, he's not talking to me, then you as a parent, I will gladly accept a phone call, email at any time, and go over with whatever, and we can take the best direction to handle the situation. Again, I'm pretty an open book about anything. So other than that, the jerseys, the first week, we're going to wear the jerseys that we have now, just because with Thanksgiving, they're going to lose a couple of days in production. So we'll probably have them the second week. And with they'll have the shoes and the bags before, just not the jerseys. And we'll get the jerseys probably week 2. But other than that, I'm super excited again to get started. Practice, we'll have practice tomorrow. We won't have practice Friday. Friday will be off. That was scheduled before we were off today. And if I had switched some things around, we could have practiced Friday, but we're going to be off Friday, and then next week, what is our next week's schedule like, Mr. Moody, as far as with the holidays?
I do give you practice on Monday and Tuesday. We typically let them let them have time off. I do allow some Fridays occasionally, but typically, that's hit or miss. But Friday will be an option. So
right. So we'll practice Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, and then we'll be off until the following Monday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can have an optional practice, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But it'll totally be optional. So
okay.
Sometimes you'll have kids show up. So.
Other than that, I won't keep you on too much longer. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I do have one other thing before we start. One thing that you'll need to have, I don't know if Winstone has this yet, but we will need somebody to run the scoreboard. And he'll need a book. So I don't know if you have a book yet, Winstone, or not, or somebody that runs the book. But those are things that coaches will typically need help with. So
okay. Well, I'll start an email thread, and I'll kind of talk to a couple parents and see if maybe we can get a couple just in case, and just rotate them so somebody's not always having to do it. But yeah,
it's got benefits. I do get you drinks and stuff. You got a nice little chair with a back on it. Those bleachers can get rough. So
there you go.
Yeah,
see, there's incentive.
Yeah, kind of run things. It's pretty nice. So. But yeah, If does anybody have any questions for the group?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yes.
For the coach, I just want to ask the coach. What is it considered appropriate from us as parents? For example, like when we're cheering the kids, is it appropriate for the parent to be giving specific instructions to a kid, like at a certain time, oh, shoot now, do this, do this?
That's a good question. My dad was the loudest person. I heard him everywhere. If anybody ever came to any Southside games, or I heard him in my ear in football, and he's sitting the furthest place. So, as parents, that's hard but as coaches, and me also being a fan, because my brothers played, I was usually the loudest as well. And then when coaching, it's two different perspectives. So yeah, when I'm in the stands, I definitely yell it. But when as a coach, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it confuses the kids, because as sometimes we want them, hey, let's pass it 7 times. Well, the second pass, he's wide open for a layup. And you're like, shoot the ball, and he's kind of confused, and then does he shoot it and get in trouble, and so it's a hard spot. I know there's gonna be times where you're gonna give advice to your kids. I'm not saying that's wrong, but as far as direction and just belligerent, like that shouldn't. But as far as a little bit, I'm not gonna be bothered with it. But as a coach, sometimes it's tough because the players, it kind of confuses them a little bit. But other than that, I know it's going to happen, so I'm not worried about the repercussions of that. So no.
In my experience, I used to actually coach here at middle school as well. I coached girls basketball for a little bit, and there were times where we would set up traps, full court traps, and a lot of parents would yell at their their daughter because she wasn't on the ball when we were trying to force the ball to the sidelines. And they, you know, they would not realize we were doing that. So, you know, we are never going to have a problem with you being enthusiastic.
Yeah. Yes.
For sure. Yeah. Sometimes it does get a little confusing or a little much. So good question.
Okay. And then my other question from the kids' side, is it appropriate for them, for instance, if they feel like the referee is unfair or they are being played rough by an opponent kid, to try to respond, or should they let it the coach handle that kind of those kinds of situations?
Yeah, that'll be strictly a coach thing. I don't think the players should ever talk to the refs, you know, unless it's thank you, sir, or sorry, sir, or other than that, and that can come to me and I'll see that. And again, I'm not a big to get on the refs at all. I feel like, you know, the refs, you know, they're taking time out of their day to come out and, you know, and be a part of the sport and their way. And so I don't think we as players or coaches should get on. I mean, yeah, it's unfair, but I mean, life's unfair in general. So, you know, that one play is not going to lose us a game. Yes. So it shouldn't lose. We shouldn't get a technical foul because a kid thinks he got fouled when he shouldn't. Because if he gets a technical foul, that's one of my rules. He's not playing the next 2 games. So if you get a technical foul as a player, you will not play the next 2 games. And that's always been my rule. So they should never even talk to him. So they shouldn't be in a position to get a technical foul. Okay. We always show respect in the you know, to refs, even when we don't feel like we're getting the right calls. I mean, we can't control that. And complaining about it simply doesn't help us out at all.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Coach.
Thank you for the questions. Great questions.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, looks like we're good. Okay. Well, I do want to thank you all for being here tonight. I know it's a little late. I'm sure some of you are ready to go to bed. I probably am. But I'm going to go ahead and end this. I do want you to know that this will be up on YouTube probably tomorrow afternoon. And I will send out the link on Twitter so you can rewatch this if you want to. But once again, thank you all and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you. I'll see you all soon. Thanks.